I have loved auto racing my entire life, and some of my earliest favorite childhood memories are in May in elementary school when my dad would come and randomly surprise me by taking me out of school so we could go watch the cars practice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Practice for the 500. The sounds and the smells of those cars traveling at 200 plus miles an hour literally shook my soul. As my love for open wheel racing grew, so did my interest in other parts of the sports, such as Formula One. And in the 80s, there was no better team to support and cheer on than McLaren. They quickly became my favorite. In March of 2019, Netflix released their first season of Drive to Survive, an award-winning documentary series which followed the drama and excitement of F1 while giving a behind-the-scenes look into the sport. And it has resulted in a huge wave of interest and support for the sport. This past year, not only did Formula One see record crowds at nearly every race venue, but also on the television. Huge growth in the television audiences. So large that the sport actually grew larger in the 18 to 49 category than any other auto racing series out there. Our next guest is the CEO of McLaren Racing, Zak Brown, a position he has held since 2016. Zak, who is an American, is not only responsible for McLaren's Formula One team, but also McLaren's other racing ventures, such as their Indy Car, Formula E, Extreme E, and Esports. Matter of fact, McLaren's Esports team just celebrated winning this year's Constructors. As the only American CEO of F1, Zak has a powerful insight and understanding of the fastest growing sport in racing. Fellas, here is an extremely exciting episode of Decades. And for you F1 fans out there, it's lights out and away we go. All right, guys, we are here with Zak Brown. Zak, thank you so much for being a part of our class today.
Yep, happy to join, and hello, everyone.
All right. Now, Zak, you clearly know the importance of what Drive to Survive has done to the sport. Formula One has seen excellent growth in not only television viewing, but nearly every race venue we saw record crowds. But for my guys, they are teenagers, they are seniors in high school, and 7 a.m., 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning is a little tough call for them. So they're still learning about the sport. As they're growing with this, what's, from your input and insight, what is the reason why they should be a part of this hugely growing sport in the United States as well as worldwide?
Well, Drive to Survive has done a fantastic job of bringing in a new audience and catering to the diehard fan. I think we've got such a cool sport that excites people for different reasons. Some people love the drivers and the gladiatorial nature of drivers hand-to-hand combat at 200 plus miles an hour. Other people really enjoy the technology of Formula One, the global nature of it traveling around the world, the business side, the politics, which I think Drive to Survive really pulls through, maybe unlike other sports where, and I'm a huge baseball fan or a golf fan, but you tend to be very focused on the field of play. You don't hear a lot about what's going on behind the scenes, where Formula One, some people like what's going on behind the scenes more than what's going on the track at times. So I think once you're exposed to it, people fall in love with the sport for a variety of reasons. So I think all I can do is encourage watching Netflix next season. It was an exciting season this year, so I'm sure it will be another good show. and the racing is great. And yeah, it's unfortunate that those in some time zones, it's an early wake up call. Back when I was living in Los Angeles, I remember the Grand Prix started at 4:50 in the morning was the TV time, but I'd get up and watch every single one of them.
Well, it is a fascinating racing series. I mean, I've been a fan for a very long time. I grew up in Indianapolis, so it's just part of our DNA. Now, the United States will have 3 racing venues this upcoming season, and we will have our first American driver since 2015, which is great. You're an American leading one of the Formula One teams, and we also have Haas, which is an American-owned team. But we haven't had a race champion since 1978. And so this is going to be 2 questions, 2 parts to it. One, why is there such little American participation in the sport? And 2, I mean, if you're a Cubs fan, you're used to losing, but, but, you know, do you foresee us Americans, we're sort of fickle. If we don't produce an American champion here soon, all this excitement for the sport, do you see that waning here in the United States if we can't produce an American champion?
Yeah, no, I think the sport is massively popular, you know, without an American driver. So I think an American driver would be additive and would be great for the sport and the North American market. But I don't think people will tune out. I think America has so many different nationalities in all their sports that I think you know, they welcome, you know, any and all. Of course, Mario Andretti is who you're referring to in 1978, one of my heroes. And I think the reason why there's not more is you really need to race in Europe, and it's a quantity game. Same with getting a female racing driver. Until you have a large portion of them at the grassroots level, that when they come up through the ladder system, there's only 20 Grand Prix drivers in the world. So right. For every one Lando Norris, there is 10,000 that want to be Lando Norris. So if you want to be the American version of Lando Norris, you need 10,000 Americans. You want to be the, you know, next female racing driver, we need 10,000 of them karting. And there's not that volume at the grassroots level, which is why it's you know, we're not seeing yet a I would say successful female Grand Prix driver, because we have had a female Grand Prix driver in the past for a couple races. I'd love to see that happen as well. So it's really, you know, it's kind of no different of why you don't see NFL players playing rugby or rugby going to the NFL. They're different sports played in different parts of the world, and you either grow up playing rugby or you grow up playing football. And so we need to have more U.S. citizens racing in Europe. But you start young too, so it really means it needs to be a U.S. family that's been, you know, moved to Europe, because you start when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, and so yeah, that's the challenge.
Well, you mentioned Mario Andretti, and in that last answer, and I got to say, like, as a kid, I grew up a huge Mario Andretti fan. Matter of fact, you know, I grew up in the 70s. My Pinewood Derby car, I painted it black and gold with a John Player special, put a little gold number 5 on it, kind of thing. Growing up in Indy, I went to the 500 all the time, and it always broke my heart, because I was born in 71 after he won the 500. But it always broke my heart every year, because he'd always be leading that 500. And every year it seemed like Tom Carnegie would come over the PA system saying, and Mario Andretti has slowed down on the back stretch. And it's like, yeah, crushing one.
Andretti curse.
Yes, yes. So speaking of the Andrettis, they are American royalty racing name. They have been putting forth the efforts of trying to get a Formula One team and expanding, adding an 11th team on the grid. But it seems much more like F1 has been more like the girls that I was with high school, you know, don't call us, we'll call you kind of thing. So why is it such a drag, or why does there seem to be such resistance in adding this 11th team, and one that would bring such a huge American fan base along with it?
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's just economics, and it's not the view I subscribe to, because I think, as you said, they'll help grow the audience and repay, if you'd like, the investment they would take out of the sport. In black and white terms, the teams split not equally, but the effectively the prize money over 10 teams. If you enter an 11th team, it gets split over 11 teams. So the 10 current teams are going, wait a minute, Andretti's going to come in and they're taking some of my money. It's as simple as that. It's unfortunate, because I think the view that I have, but not enough of the other teams do, is right. They might be taking 1/11 of the pie, but I think they're going to make the pie even bigger. And I think they would do that by increasing exposure in America, which would lead to more sponsors, which would lead to more TV contracts, and that money all comes to Formula One, and then the teams get 70% of it. So it's a short-sighted view that an 11th team, and it has nothing to do with it being the Andretti's, it would be any 11th team, is going to take money out of the pocket of the 10 teams. But I believe they'd be additive and make the pie bigger, and net, the sport would grow. But unfortunately, sometimes the teams have a very short-sighted next week view of life.
Well, hopefully that view will change here in the near future. I have been, a fan of Andretti's, but I've also, when I got into Formula One, was in the 80s, and the team to be jumping into Formula One in the 80s, of course, was McLaren. And so, like, every Sunday I put on my blue and orange kind of thing for, the support of the Gulf, colors there. And I've long been a McLaren fan, so I really appreciate you being a part of this discussion and stuff. But so let me ask you, because where I'm going to go with this is, as the CEO of McLaren, you're not only responsible for the McLaren's Formula One team, the Indy Car team, the Formula E, Extreme E, but also Esports. And you guys just won the constructors in Esports. Our Trinity High School, we've now Kentucky registered Esports as an official athletic competition in 2020, and we've since won 2 of those state championships. We're excited about esports, and we have some kids that are interested in the Formula One esports. Now, it's not in Kentucky yet, but we're already looking at possibly bringing that in. What kind of advice would you have to our guys that are watching this that might be interested in Formula One as an esports?
Yeah, I think esports is fantastic. When I grew up, it was video games, but now this is real simulation. So we very much consider esports a real racing platform. We spend millions on it. Our sponsors give us millions of dollars towards it. It's a real big business, and it's great because I think young boys and girls, everyone kind of fancies themselves being Mario Andretti at some point, and we had a disadvantage as a sport where football or baseball, basketball, they're inexpensive sports to go play in school, where historically, until there was the invention of esports, it was either karting, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars, or video games. There was nothing in between. Now you've got esports, which is a real way to let people from all backgrounds see what it's like to be a racing driver. It's very difficult. It's not a video game, and you have to take the same approach as you do if you're racing, Grand Prix cars. Practice. It's very technical. It's about the setup. It's about concentration. And again, if you make a mistake in an esports race, it's game over, just like in real life.
Yeah, I've played it up on my son's console, and usually in that first turn, I'm already wrecking. So I understand. Now, my guys, some of them might get into esports, but it's really difficult, as you know, to get into motor racing. I do have a young alumni that I taught. He is now in the IndyCar NXT program, next program, what was formerly known as Indy Lights. I'm very proud of the growth that he's making. But my guys really aren't going to get into Formula One racing or racing in general. However, they will be going into the business world. Coming from a business leadership, what is your sage wisdom that you can give to these guys on when they get outside of my classroom doors of how to be a good leader?
I think it's about working very hard, and and everyone says that, but there is a difference between people that work very hard and not. But then also dusting yourself off and getting back on the horse, so to speak, because especially in the early years, there's a lot of failing, there's a lot of rejection, and I think you need to embrace that and learn from it. And as I say in the office, mistakes are okay, just don't make the same one twice. And to get experience, and to get experience from other people's experiences. And I think one of the things I see with young people kind of trying to break in is they set their expectations too high, and you want to internally set them high, but you got to realize there's a lot of people out there jockeying for great roles in this world. And so, get in, get the experience, earn it, do the hard work, look at the people around you, learn what to do and what not to do from your environment, and stick with it. Because I think sometimes it's one thing to have high expectations, but you got to go work hard to hit those. And not just think because you graduated with good grades or from a great university that just entitles you. You got to do it the hard way. You got to get your hands dirty, and it takes some time, and it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So I think that's the biggest thing, is getting that experience.
It's okay to fail when you learn from these failures and reach out and venture for something big. So, all right, Zach, do you have time for 5 quick questions here?
Sure.
All right. Well, this is just going to be quick, rapid fire, quick answers, first things that come to your head. Ready? First question. Formula One is already growing. More tracks this coming year. Country, track venue, city that you would love to see Formula One go to?
South Africa.
Okay, very good. I would love for us to see a race in Africa. Question number 2. You have the entire history books open to you, or the current grid. You put 2 drivers on the grid for you. What 2 drivers would you choose?
Ayrton Senna and Fernando Alonso.
Okay, wow. McLaren, we got to see in a new format this year as the McLaren headquarters was on the Star Wars Andor series, an amazing series kind of thing. Which Star Wars character would you put in a Formula One car?
Luke Skywalker.
Okay. Not Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, who won in pod racing, but Luke Skywalker. Great one there.
Luke Skywalker, absolutely. He makes it happen.
He does. Speaking of movies, the greatest racing movie that my students should see?
Oh, easy one. Senna.
That is such a good one. All right.
Awesome.
5th final question is this. Celebrities make their ways to the grids and garages all the time. The celebrity you would love to see at a McLaren garage for a race?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably the president, but not the current one.
Okay. See, here's where I would say, we'll bring a high school teacher that does a really cheesy YouTube video. You can come on into our garage too.
Yeah, I've always loved presidents. I've had the, who would you love to have dinner with? And, George Washington and Ben Franklin, obviously not a president, but I would have been fascinated to see Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Alexander Hamilton all at work.
Zach Brown, you have played 5 quick questions. You have given us some great insight. Thank you so much for all that you have done for us. And I appreciate you. Have a great one.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Zach.
Cheers.
Zach, thank you so much for your insight and support of this class. I really do appreciate it, as well as my students. And if you ever want to invite a teacher to the McLaren garage, I'll be there for you. Absolutely. Happily. Thanks again, Zach. Guys, Formula One is an amazing series. I hope that maybe some Sunday morning you will consider getting up and watch the lights go up and the cars go zoom, zoom, zoom. There will be 3 venues here in the United States that you could see it at in the afternoon, so maybe you don't have to get up so early on a Sunday morning. But it is an amazing series to watch. Fellas, as always, remain awesome, be nice, stay safe, and I will see you soon.